images that will never go away. Such as we were on the radio, we were told to stay indoors, the country had been invaded, to not even appear at the windows, to close the curtains.
We all know Audrey Hepburn, the charming actress with the big brown eyes and timeless style. She seemed to have it all: beauty, grace, and a career most could only dream of. But behind that famous smile and elegant demeanor, Audrey was a woman of remarkable depth, shaped by incredible hardships and fascinating experiences most of us never knew. Today, we're uncovering 10 secrets about Audrey Hepburn that Hollywood kept under wraps. These stories reveal the real Audrey, a survivor, a humanitarian, and a mother. So, get comfortable as we take a journey through the hidden life of this golden age icon.
Which always needed money.
What about the Germans? What did they do about it?
Let's know about it.
Our first story takes us back to the dark days of World War II, when a young Audrey, just a teenager, risked her life to help the Dutch resistance fight against Nazi occupation. Imagine this, Audrey, with her quiet demeanor and innocent face, secretly delivering messages hidden in her shoes. She was barely 15 but fearless. Her family's connections to the resistance made her a natural choice, and she often served as a messenger because her youth allowed her to slip by unnoticed. But these were no ordinary tasks. They were missions where one wrong step could mean serious consequences. Audrey later admitted that those years left a lasting impact on her, shaping her sense of duty and compassion. Who would have thought that this future Hollywood star was once a secret courier in the fight for freedom? Audrey always dreamed of being a dancer, even as the war tore through her world. Food was scarce, and during the harsh winters, her family faced starvation. She was so malnourished that her body was weakened for the rest of her life. Despite this, Audrey found a way to practice ballet in underground performances called Black Nights. These were secret recitals where she would dance to raise money for the resistance. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The girl who brought so much grace to the silver screen was dancing in secret to help others survive. Her wartime experiences were profound, and they left her with a fragile constitution. For the rest of her life, Audrey's health was delicate, but she continued to perform with incredible passion and resilience.
Al mio fianco ogni volta che vince uno delle sue bellissime premii e anche questa sera.
Audrey Hepburn wasn't just a pretty face. In fact, she had an IQ of 160, higher than what most people realize. She was multilingual, fluent in English, French, Dutch, Italian, and Spanish. Audrey had a deep love for books and learning. If you ever saw her between takes on a film set, she'd probably be reading a book. She even had a personal library filled with works of history, philosophy, and literature. This love for knowledge gave her a unique perspective on life. She once said that her beauty was a gift, but her mind was something she had to nurture herself. For Audrey, intelligence and wisdom were as important as the glamour of Hollywood.
Whenever anything was complicated or injustice was being done, the case would be laid before you and your word would be law.
A fun fact, Audrey Hepburn wasn't born with that famous name. She came into the world as Etta van Heemstra, a name that reflected her Dutch heritage. But during the war, her family altered her name to protect her from the Nazis. Her father had English roots, and when she moved to London, she adopted Audrey Kathleen Hepburn Rustin. In a way, Audrey's name was as adaptable as she was. It became part of her journey, from a young girl in occupied Holland to a celebrated actress in Hollywood. Every name she took on was like a new chapter in her story. The camera loved Audrey, but her beauty sometimes masked a hidden vulnerability. Those years of malnutrition left her with chronic anemia and other health problems. On movie sets, she sometimes fainted from exhaustion or would need extra rest to keep up. Imagine the strain of working long hours, often under intense lighting, while dealing with physical exhaustion. During breakfast at Tiffany's, Audrey's schedule was so grueling that she pushed herself to the absolute limit. But despite these challenges, she never let her health issues affect her dedication. Her perseverance was one of the reasons directors adored her. She was as tough as she was elegant.
Terrible 5 years of German occupation, which it was. But a child is a child is a child.
Though we think of Audrey Hepburn as a classic Hollywood icon, she was never fully comfortable with Hollywood's lifestyle. Raised in Europe, she found the American film industry too superficial. Audrey preferred her quiet life in Switzerland over the glitz and glamour, and she turned down countless roles that didn't align with her personal values. In her own words, she once said, "Success is like reaching an important birthday and finding you're exactly the same." Fame was never her driving force. She valued integrity over popularity, and that's rare in any era.
Cut, thank you.
Just cut? Well, then, cut so?
Most people remember Audrey's work with UNICEF later in life, but she had a history of quietly helping people long before. She'd donate money anonymously and even sent supplies to struggling families. Audrey's compassion came from her own experiences of hardship, and she always felt a deep connection to children suffering in poverty. When she officially joined UNICEF, she took her role seriously. Traveling to Ethiopia, Sudan, and Bangladesh, she witnessed unimaginable suffering and was moved to tears on many occasions. For Audrey, this was her true calling. She believed her fame was meant to give a voice to those who had none.
I never could do that.
Despite her iconic beauty, Audrey was surprisingly self-conscious. She felt her neck was too long, her feet too big, and worried she didn't fit Hollywood's image of a leading lady. This insecurity drove her to be a perfectionist, and she would rehearse scenes repeatedly until they felt just right. Her friends often described her as an accidental star, someone who hadn't planned to become an icon but gave her best because she felt she had to. Her need for perfection wasn't about fame, it was about giving audiences her best.
And why, it was very hard for me to understand because I was 11 or something, you know.
Audrey never spoke openly about it, but those close to her believe she suffered from PTSD. The trauma of World War II haunted her long after it ended. She rarely discussed her experiences, and when she did, she often became visibly emotional. Nightmares, flashbacks, and a strong aversion to war topics stayed with her throughout her life. Her roles often carried a hint of that vulnerability. You see it in her eyes, in the moments when she's not acting but simply being. Her on-screen presence reflected her real-life struggle in ways that still resonate.
Now it's cool. Cool.
It's just what I wanted.
Grazie.
When Audrey reached a point where she could have continued her career at full throttle, she made a choice that shocked many. She stepped back from Hollywood. Audrey moved to Switzerland and devoted herself to raising her sons, Sean and Luca. For her, family came before fame, a decision few actors make at the height of their success. Audrey once said, "If my world were to cave in tomorrow, I would look back on all the pleasures, excitements, and worthwhileness I have been lucky enough to have had, not the pain." Her legacy was defined not only by her work on screen, but by her role as a loving mother and humanitarian. And that's it. The real Audrey Hepburn, a woman of grace, strength, and incredible resilience. Hollywood may have known her as a glamorous star, but we now know her as so much more. Which story touched you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.